Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics including grief, parenting, health and wellness, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenni and Josh Brennan. Hey, Jenni.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just realized that I actually don't have to read the intro. I think I have it memorized, but I think I read it out of like a security blanket type of thing.
Yes.
Do you have it memorized?
No, I zone out during it.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But even when you listen back, you don't like mount the words like I do? I mean, I
zone
don't.
out. My
brain
is like, you don't need to pay attention.
No.
Yeah.
It's autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You listen to the important content.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
That's my secret to life.
Yeah. Listen to the important content.
Mm-hmm.
TM, JenniandBrennan.com.
Mm-hmm. And then
2019.
forget the stuff that's not important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the end of a long weekend for us. We had beach time yesterday. We were driving around a lot today, hanging out in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and we went to a friend's house and hung out by the pool. It's summer. It was fun weekend, relaxing, but still busy.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
back
tired.
to back. Yeah, I'm tired
Well,
too.
we both worked.
Yes. I'm on call
Like from home.
for work.
But
yeah.
we worked.
And it's been a very busy weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So episode 35. Happy summer,
Oh.
everybody.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, 35. Happy Monday. We're back on a Monday with everybody. Don't forget, everybody, to like us, review us, and follow us, and share the links to the episodes if you like the episode. We want to grow the content. Not grow the content, grow the audience as much as we can. So we need your help to do that. I don't know that I've been this excited about an episode coming out as I am excited about this episode coming out today.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to listen to an amazing lady who we had the distinct pleasure of speaking with, Gila Pfeffer, who is the mom who knew too much, right?
Yes.
What did you
She's
think
wonderful.
about this? Yes, so fun.
Well, I knew she was fun from the moment I sort of stumbled across her on Instagram. I like humor. She sort of has the same sense of humor about parenting and has some experience with coping with challenging things as a parent. And it was a little challenging for us to coordinate our schedules, but I'm really happy that we did because it was really fun chatting with her.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We will absolutely have Gila on again. So if you don't already know, you probably read the show description, but we spent about 45 minutes hanging out with Gila, who is a blogger, a writer, I think she does speaking events, but she's the mom who knew too much, and you can find her at themomwhoknewtoomuch.com. Just put that in Google, or if you want to type it into the web address URL, it's the-mom-who- etc. And I love the front page of her website. I'm looking at it right now. It says, "The mom who knew too much. I'm just a mom standing in front of a toilet asking who didn't flush."
That's like the story of my life.
Yes.
I can relate
She
to so much
speaks
of
to
what
me.
so many of the mom, there's like terms, the mom bloggers. I can't think of the clever, catchy terms.
Bloggers?
No, that's not one of them.
Okay.
They're more clever than that. Are moms of younger kids. And Gila has older kids. And so the sort of struggles of parenting are different when you're raising older kids. There's still struggles. I've always said to my friends who are a little behind us with kids, it doesn't really get easier. It just gets a different kind of hard.
Yeah.
And so she sort of speaks my language in terms of a different kind of hard. And she's our first international guest because she is in London. She's based overseas.
Yeah, well, she's her and her family are American. They're U.S. citizens, but they moved to London. What did she say? 10 years ago.
Well, why don't we wait and you can listen to the interview?
She's a mom of 4 kids. They live in London, and she's got such an amazing, fascinating story and very funny. And I don't want to, spoiler alert, but I find out during the interview that Gila speaks in movie quotes just like I do. So that was really cool. And a lot of that you can find all throughout her writing and her blogs and her articles. So absolutely check that out. But without further ado, let's get on to the interview. We are very pleased to present the mom who knew too much, Gila Pfeffer. All right, Changing Perspectives fans, we are coming at you with another parenting episode, and we have a very special guest. She's the mom who knew too much, and you can find her at themomwhoknewtoomuch.com and the mom who knew too much on Instagram. She's a freelance writer and blogger, and we have Gila Pfeffer. Hey, Gila.
Hello, which is how you would say hello in London, where I'm from, but I'm American, so I'm just going to say hello.
Excellent. You can go back and forth and interchange the London and
I might,
American, whatever you want
I
to
might
do.
do that just to keep it interesting.
I
Yes.
might do that as well. I have this
You should.
awful habit of when I'm talking to someone who has a British accent that I like want to fall into that and also have that accent. So I might just do
Oh, this
that just
ought to be
because. In
fun.
fact,
Who
so
could be
here's
Jenny? Let's hear it then.
here's
Go
a
on.
little funny tidbit. When I'm very tired or when I've had a glass of prosecco, my friends laugh at me and they say, "Oh, British Jenny is here," because somehow, right, Josh? Because sometimes
Oh
I
gosh,
just
That's
start
true.
talking and I say some words that sometimes sound like I'm from across the pond. So
it's fun.
maybe British Jenny will join us. But thank you, Gila, for joining us from literally across the pond. You're here, and we're excited to
Thank you
have
for having me.
you.
Thank you for finding me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah, we've been planning this for a while, so it's nice to finally make it happen.
Yeah, I know. One of our biggest sort of categories of episodes that people really enjoy and tune into are the ones where we talk about parenting. And I was really drawn to your Instagram because you talk very openly and candidly about parenting and a lot of topics to which I can relate. And I think a lot of others can relate too. So that's kind of our topic today is sort of exploring parenting with someone else who's not just me and Josh, other people who have
Yeah.
parents too. And before we started hitting record today, we were chatting about your most recent Instagram post, actually. Do you want to sort of give us a quick little overview about what that post was?
Oh, the one I posted today about the smells.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll see if I can describe it for an audio audience. It's a picture,
Yeah, you definitely got to
right?
see it.
So definitely go to the mom who knew too much on Instagram, and there's a dot in between each word, like a little period, and it is a picture of one basketball player. I don't know enough about basketball to know if it's NBA or college basketball, so forgive me, but it's one basketball player with his face in the armpit of another basketball player as he's taking a shot. And that to me just said everything you need to know about being a boy mom, a mom of
Yes.
teens, a short mom whose boys are quickly becoming or already are taller than her. And I wrote, I don't have it in front of me, but it was something like, you know, going in for a hug with your teenage son when he's taller than you.
Yes.
And I did happen to me one time. I got a face full of armpit and all the things that comes with the pit. And it is hot here. So hot plus armpit plus teen equals, you can
That
imagine,
equals the story of our life. The Josh and I living
so many
with
smells.
two, an official teenager and a tween, and I'm constantly sniffing and asking people, "Did you put on deodorant? You need to change that shirt. You can't wear that out. You smell bad. Go take a shower. Did you take a shower?" So can totally
Yeah.
relate, and I feel like that image it's not fun and it bugs them. But so we speak the same
Yeah, it's not
language
fun.
here, all of us around parenting.
I will tell you the grooming does kick in.
Do you
Like, wait for it
promise?
because it does kick in when they start
Okay.
becoming. I promise. I promise it kicks in for some earlier, for some later. It may not kick in until they're 16, 17. Sorry, but at some point they'll say, "I want to present myself to the world a different way." I think it's all
Yeah.
within the realm of normal. Of growing up, and
Yeah,
their
that's true.
bodies are just going
No, I
crazy.
would not I
You
would not go
couldn't
back
pay
for
me to be a
all the
teen
money in the
again.
world.
Ugh,
No. Gila, so tell us
no.
how many kids do you have and what are their ages?
I've got four kids, boy, girl, boy, boy. It is 18. We're on an even year, 18, 16, 14, and 12. We're on the 2-year program. So we are in that interesting stage of life where our 18-year-old just finished, I guess, the equivalent of high school. Here it goes to year 13. But for all intents and purposes, he has now completed high school, and he's leaving in September. He's going on a gap year, and then he's going to college in the
Oh,
States,
wow.
which, yeah, that was a whole decision. But so we're in this really weird time where we've been a family unit, 6 of us, and we're going to be one down. So their ages are, it's almost like he's not a kid
Yeah.
anymore,
Well, and
almost.
then that bumps everybody up a little bit. So then your 16-year-old will become the oldest child in the house and gets to assume that
Big
power
time.
position.
Mm-hmm.
So you're ahead of us. I'm
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, our boys are almost 14 and almost 11, and I can't even fathom them being those ages. But eventually, they will also be hitting that 18-year-old mark just before we know it. So,
I know it's cliche and everyone says time flies, but it just does. Like one minute, and I write about this and I talk about it a lot. One minute I was a mom of small kids, and because they're all so close in age, they're less than 2 years apart actually. I just identified as a mom of small kids, and that was
yeah,
my thing. And they were always hanging off of me, and I had all the equipment and gear that comes with small kids. And because they're close in age, one day all that equipment and gear was gone, and it got replaced with school stuff and after school activities and all the stuff that happens with sort of 9, 10, 11, 12 year olds. And seemingly overnight they have just grown up, and as you say, once the oldest one is grown up, the youngest one catches up real quick. Like they have their childhood is shorter, I
yeah, for
find.
sure.
So you kind of get this inflated sense of I'm older, and you blink and there
Yeah.
you are.
Well, gosh, I've never heard anyone put it that way, but that really encapsulated it for me that their childhood is shorter. I think that is true of a younger child, a younger sibling, is their childhood really is shorter. And I know for us,
Yeah, think about when you put your kids to bed. When your oldest is when you have the one,
yes,
they're going to bed earlier. You're
yes,
making better food choices, and it's not a function of parenting. It's a function of
yeah,
just being realistic. And what are you actually willing to fight for? How do you want to spend? What kind of parent do you want to be? Do you want to spend your days fighting over things that don't matter that much in the end, or do you want to just let something slide and understand that each child is different, and birth order will make a difference in
right.
their
Oh, that's so
childhood
interesting.
experience.
Okay, now I'm sad.
Oh, I I mean, it's awesome. Yay.
Well, it really is quite crazy. Gila, you talked about hugging your son and realizing he's taller than you, and we just passed this level in with our kids where not only is our oldest taller than Jenny,
Oof.
but he's now taller than me, which is not that fun. I mean, I'm not a tall guy. I'm only 5'8", and he's now 5'9". But we were at the doctor recently and the nurse let us know his height, and I couldn't believe it for a few moments. I still can't quite believe it.
I always find that strange. You see that a lot where the kid is taller than the parents. I've got these two good friends, this married couple,
Whoa.
who are really tall themselves, and their son is taller than both of them. And I'm thinking, at some point, this has to stop. Like, it can't
Yes,
be that every
yes.
generation is taller,
Uh,
because that's just not tenable.
yeah, which makes it a little bit difficult to like
So now we
feel
have
like
to
you
look
have
up
some
to our
power and
children.
control when you have to like look up and you have to stand on tiptoes or stand on like a phone book to be able to look in their eyes. And our youngest, yes, I'm struggling with that. Oh, but
And you have to find other ways to
but
assert
we will get
dominance.
there. So Gila, how long
Absolutely.
have you been living over in England? Because am I hearing a New Jersey accent or a New York accent from you?
You're probably hearing a mix of accents, depending on who I'm talking to and where I'm hanging out. And London is quite a crossroads of all different nationalities and cultures. So everybody sounds a little bit international. We have been here for
Wow.
August will be 10 years. And we only came for 3 years, but here we are, 10 years later, still here because we love it. We're happy here.
And so your kids
I hope our family
doing the math, then your kids were all born in the States before you. Okay.
We're all born in the States. Yep. We're U.S. citizens. We have not become citizens here. We could. We've just decided for a whole host of
Hmm.
reasons for now not to. But yeah, we moved here. They were 2, 4, 6, and 8. So that's another stark contrast. We moved here with little kids, and now we're living in the same place, but they are big. And I find that that's what's difficult. Like there was a time when you kind of could separate American life and British life. And now I can't even connect the kids that they were when we lived in New Jersey to the kids that they are now.
That's amazing to think. I'm trying to sort of like think about that, think about my own
Mm,
kids 10 years ago and imagine if now sort of in the present we were living in a different country. It's just so mind-blowing to think about how much changes in a decade as a parent and as a child. You think about your child 10 years younger, but to think about what your family has
mm.
sort of gone through in terms of transition to literally like move to a new country and set up a new kind of life there and get accustomed to that way of life. That's a huge undertaking. What was helpful for you during all
It
of
was a
that?
huge undertaking. Um, well,
Yeah.
it's
At that age, when my kids were that age, it was a huge undertaking to, like, go to the supermarket,
exactly.
let
I
alone,
do,
like,
yeah.
across the world.
That's the thing is, like anything you go through, big or small, whatever the challenge is, it's much easier to go through it yourself than to empathize with somebody else who's gone through it when you haven't. So you'll look at someone and say, I don't
Yeah.
know how you're dealing with X. I don't know how you survive. I could never do what you're doing. And yet you could. You just kind of do what you have to do. Every day you wake up, you put one foot in front of the other and you're living your life. So I have to, I must mention a significant life episode to, which sort of dovetails with the move to London.
Mhm.
Um, my my mom, no, let me back up. I had about 10 and a half years ago a prophylactic double mastectomy, which is the surgery that Angelina Jolie did,
Right.
because my mom died of breast cancer at 42
Oh,
and her
wow.
mom died at 49, and other people in the family had breast cancer. And by the time my dad eventually died of cancer as well, quite young. So by the time I was 30, I was the oldest living member in my whole family. We had no grandparents, we had no parents. So it's me and my younger four siblings. And so I always had a heightened sense of awareness of breast cancer. And I went for gene testing when I was in my 30s. I was still having kids. And not surprisingly, I found that I had BRCA1, which
Yep.
is the gene that gives you a very high percentage chance of developing breast cancer, which frankly was not surprising to me based on my family history. So, and my mom didn't have any sisters, so I couldn't ask them either. Um, so I made a decision at that time. This surgery was becoming more commonplace, not quite as commonplace as it is now. And obviously, Angelina Jolie went a very long way
Right.
to bring some very important attention to the option of even doing this. Nobody recoiled after that. They said, "Oh, you're so brave. That's wonderful. People can do that." Whereas when I was going through it, I got mixed reviews, ranging from "That's great, we support you" to "Why
Mm.
would you mangle your body like that voluntarily? You're crazy." And as it turned out, when I did have this preventative surgery, after having spent years of being preventative, going for mammograms and ultrasounds and not smoking and running and doing everything right, in that preventative surgery, they actually found two tiny but aggressive cancers on one breast. So
Wow.
the fact was that I did save my life, not
You
theoretically,
did.
but really. And the reason that that is connected to London is because when my husband and I were sort of back and forthing and deciding, should we go? When should we go? At this point, the kids were 1, 3, 5, and 7. We decided to go, and it was the decision to move that finally sort of prompted me and forced me to have the surgery, because I probably would have put it off another 6 months. It was a big deal taking out all your breast tissue, and I had a
Yeah.
reconstruction from my stomach. It was a huge undertaking, and I would have chickened out and kept pushing it off because I was only 34. My mom was diagnosed at 40, so I thought I had tons of time. But I said, you know what, we're moving. Let me do this. Let me heal, recover, and by the time we move, people can know, not know, whatever I decide to share, but I'll be sort of, you know, fit and ready to deal with all the things that come with taking your family across an ocean.
Right.
And that, when my family says we're upset that you're still in London and why are you moving? Why did you go? Why aren't you coming back? I have to remind them that moving here actually saved my life. I
Yeah.
would have put it off another 6 months and it would not have been a good situation. So when you talk about moving to London, it's not just that we moved here. We moved here in August of 2009. And in May 2009, I had just finished 8 rounds of chemo. In June 2009, I had my ovaries removed preventatively because with that gene comes a higher chance of getting ovarian
Mhm.
cancer. Thank God those were clean. So I moved here 2 months after I finished a year of 3 surgeries, 8 rounds of chemo, having my ovaries out, going into menopause at
Yeah.
35, and with a bunch of little kids. So, you know, I I had enough to focus on and think about. I just took all my energy and put it into settling us in and just figuring out what the next day was going to bring. So when people ask me how did you do it, what helped you settle in, I was so
Yeah.
distracted by other stuff, and it took about a year and a half until the adrenaline wore off and then my brain said, what in the
Yes.
hell just happened? What have you just gone through? And now you're in a different country. Get help. Which I did. I spoke to someone, and that was very helpful. But for a family not going through any crazy health issues, moving to another country, I think is probably easier today just because of the internet and social media and
Mm.
connectivity. But making sure that you find a neighborhood where you have like-minded people.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of
You
a
do.
crew,
You need community.
and that can take a bit of
Yeah.
research. But yeah, you need a crew.
That is, I hadn't realized the details in that story. It's so,
Sorry.
no, 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 don't apologize. I think it's wonderful to share that story, and I appreciate that you're so open. Did you have to sort of fight for the preventative, prophylactic surgery with the mastectomy, or were doctors totally on board with that?
So that's actually no one's ever asked me that, and I think that's a great question because while I didn't have to fight for the surgery, what I did have to fight for initially was the right to have mammograms
Hmm.
because I was 20 when my mom died. I wanted to start having mammograms in my late 20s, or at least by 30, because you're supposed to have a baseline 10 years before the nearest next of kin was diagnosed. And I got a lot of pushback. The national protocol was to start having mammograms at, I think it was 40. And I remember being like this 28-year-old person in the world working, did I have a couple of kids? I had a kid at that point. And I said, I will be dead by
Yeah,
40. Look me in the eyes and understand that. And I didn't even know how, sort of
right.
how right I was. I was trying to dramatize them into letting me have it, which they ultimately did. But it turns out I was right. And I think when it comes to healthcare and prevention, the number one arsenal in anyone's kit is
Yes.
self advocacy. You've got to go with your gut. You know your body. You've got to stand up for yourself. Don't take no unless you're satisfied with the no. Don't take the no. So nobody, if anything, I was encouraged to have that surgery, given that I was on board with it, given my family history and the BRCA1 gene. But yeah, you'd be surprised what you have to fight for,
Yes, and
especially when it comes to insurance.
I feel pretty passionate about that. Both Josh and I have experience working in the healthcare field, and so we've seen so many instances where people, their gut tells them something's wrong, something's off, but then the doctor, and I'm not, bad mouthing doctors at all, and I'm making a very generalized statement here, but the
Mm.
doctor will be like, "Oh, it's probably nothing. Let's not worry about it. Let's just, recheck that in a year," and I think it's always important to listen to your gut. And unfortunately, that does mean sometimes staying to a doctor, to a medical professional. No, I'm really not okay with waiting. I really do want to sort of explore this further. It's important to me. And I think there's something about becoming a parent that really kind of forces us into having to really advocate for ourselves in a different way, because we're really advocating for our children.
Yep.
Um, just to share something a little personal,
Good.
I had to push for mammograms as well. And then, had one recently. They found something. We're kind of looking into it. It's probably nothing, they said, but I had to go to the doctor to sort of get a referral
Ooh.
to a specialized clinic. And my friend said, she sent me a text that morning and she said,
Mhm.
advocate for yourself. Imagine that you're advocating for your children. And I sat with that for a minute and then I texted back. I said, you know what? I am
Wow.
advocating for them because I'm their mom. And Gila, what it's like to lose your mom. I don't want that for my kids, so I'm going to fight for that. And I
Yeah.
think it's so important for people to hear that is okay to do. It is okay to advocate for yourself in a medical world, even if that means you switch doctors and you keep kind of fighting. And I'm so glad that you share your story because you were right. it saved your life.
Well, that's the thing. It was so, I always joke, I've never not wanted to be right so much in my life.
Right,
For
right.
somebody who really enjoys being right, that was not the time for it to happen. But um, I, I, one of my biggest things is breast cancer awareness, breast health advocacy, and I started the Mom Who Knew Too Much. Actually, it, I backed into it because this project actually started out as something I'm still working on, really working hard on. And it's a book about my breast cancer story, and it's going to be funny and full of sarcasm and full of all the things that got me through. But the story I just told you, sort of in a that was a very condensed version of what my book's going to be. But because writing a book was proving to be a really arduous task, not only physically but emotionally, things I had to sort of go
Yeah.
back and delve into and visit, a friend of mine who's in publishing said, you should start a blog because I've got a voice and I like to write. And I started the blog, The Mom Who Knew Too Much, because I didn't want it to be a breast cancer blog. A, because there's so many of them, and B, because that's not the only thing that
Right.
defines me. I wanted to branch out. And the major defining role in my life is really motherhood, and I love it and I embrace it and I find so much hilarity in it.
Mhm.
And my kids know that anything they say and do is going to become content without using their names or faces. But if they get to do things like leave lights on and not flush toilets,
Yes.
I'm going to write about it because then it's cathartic for me, it's entertaining for other people, it's relatable. But I do write on the blog as well about my experience with breast cancer, past, present thoughts, reflections. I just started something on July 1st where I will post a reminder, feel it on the 1st, reminding people to
I love that.
do self examinations. And it's just people have to talk about it more. Look, there are lots of different ways of handling something difficult and trauma, and you can recoil into yourself, and that's fine. But for me, I have to feel like it was worth something. And what was the point of going through all that, aside from obviously my
Right.
main goal, which is to be here for my family, if I can't if I can't, you know, give that to someone else. And I have to say that unfortunately, my story has reached people who it has helped in very real and very significant ways. People have come across my, public speaking and writing and whatnot. And one woman was deciding whether or not to do this surgery, came across a video I did for um, a breast cancer organization called Sharsheret. They're based out of New Jersey, and she decided to proceed in a certain way based on that video, saved her life, called the organization and said, I need to meet Gila, I need to talk to her. And we ended up being on the cover of their annual newsletter, sort of as an example
Yes.
of what sharing your story can do. What share in Hebrew means link, and what linking means. You're just part of a chain, and are you going to break that chain and keep it to yourself, or are you going to go forward and say, who needs to hear this? So that's sort of a core principle, a core value behind what it is I'm trying to do in my
Yeah. There.
writing, speaking, blogging, joking, all that. And I hope that your breast cancer experience turns out to be just that, a preventative one,
Mhm.
and good for you for keeping on top of it.
Yeah, I think it's I appreciate that. It's hard. I think it's easy to avoid, right? It's easy to be like, "Oh, everything's fine. I'm not going to worry about it." I think that's sort of human nature, is just to sort of deny, avoid, avert our attention, focus on the good stuff. So it is hard. It's hard
Mm.
work to sort of to talk about this stuff, and that's, some of the reasons why we started our podcast, is to bring a space to talk about some serious stuff. And often it's around grief. And kind of loss related topics for us, but you have to talk about it. I mean, we are really an interconnected society here, and we're all going through stuff. And gosh, it can be so helpful to talk about it and realize that other people
Yeah.
get it. Other people are there to listen, they're there to offer advice, they're there to kind of become part of your network. And I think that's one of the really wonderful things about podcasts and social network in general, is the connections it brings and the education it provides. So I am so looking forward to reading that book whenever that comes out. Do you have any idea what that, not to put
Whew.
pressure on you, but do you know,
No, you should put
does that
pressure
make
on
it
me,
work better?
actually. I want
Mhm.
everyone to put pressure on me because it always gets kicked
Yeah.
to the bottom of my list. And you need to be like, how's that book going? You writing your book? Did you write today? You writing? When are you publishing that? Trying to set myself some deadlines and some goals. My husband's great about encouraging me to do that as well. He's quite a deadline oriented person, so he's pushing me too. I couldn't say when. I would hope within the next 12 to 18 months, but
Oh, great.
I'm really using Instagram as a platform to connect with people, and I will definitely be keeping them posted. And I want to say that I love the name of your podcast. I think changing perspectives. Like when you first contacted me, that was the first thing that jumped out was, oh, what a great name, because you're not trying to change, the grief or the event or the fact that you're discussing. You're
Right.
changing a perspective, which is something that everyone can benefit from.
Yeah.
So I think that's just fab that you're doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Some of the most amazing content out there, I think why different podcasts and blogs are so successful is that you feel like you're reading your friend's text or your friend's story, or you're listening to your friends talk about something over the podcast airwaves or the radio airwaves. And that's the sense I get when I read your articles. Gila,
That's the best
you're
thing you could have said to me.
yeah, I really do. I really connect to them. And I wanted to talk about the article, How I Got Most of My Kids to Turn Off the Lights.
Mm.
Jenny, you can vouch for this. That's probably my biggest pet peeve. How often do I walk
Every
to a room and shut off the light?
You know what, Josh, though? You are not usually home during the mornings when we're leaving because you leave for work at like 2 a.m. So it's me getting the boys out of the house, and every single morning I have to say, "Did you shut off your light?" And they both every morning say, "Yep." And I
Mm-hmm.
look down the
Mm.
hallway, and they're both still they're shining
Yep.
bright. The lights are still on. Oh my god, it drives me bananas.
That's just what, the child brain from the little. I have no training whatsoever, but from what I've read and heard and know, there's all kinds of things happening in there. Is it their prefrontal cortexes where they're not developed, and it's just not on their
Yep,
radar. Like they just don't care. We care because we're adults, and that's how we all turn into our parents, because we start caring about things we didn't care about before.
I
And
know
the
it's
same way you'll say,
awful.
did you flush the toilet? Yeah. Did you wash your hands? Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna come smell your hands, right? Like, there's actually, there's no, why are we spending time in this charade of lying when you know how this is going to end? Like, you're wasting my time, you're wasting your time. Stop wasting everyone's time. The article I wrote, How I Got My Kids to Shut the Lights, was sort of a culmination of me getting so fed up with them, as you say, not shutting off the lights. And you try everything from yelling to making a joke about it to calling them back upstairs to, my kids are all at the age where they've got phones. We have a family WhatsApp group, so my husband and I will take a photo of someone's room with the lights sort of shining bright while the kids downstairs, post it on the group. Haha, look who forgot to shut their light. And eventually I came up with, I tried taping sticky notes over their light switches. It's like, you can't make someone care about something, as it turns out.
That's
But
true.
what you can make them care about is money. So I set up a jar. And it's a jar on the kitchen counter, and it says, left your lights on, deposit £1, which I guess a pound is, given Brexit, it's not worth much, but it's about $1.30. But it's a nominal amount. And over the course of time, I saw, there's always that one kid that's a little bit less uh,
Yes.
affected by your rules. And three of them were a bit more compliant. They didn't like being hit where it hurts. And the fourth one, just, he was struggling with it. And I'm like, look, man, I'm trying to help you here. You don't want me to take all your money. It got to the point where he'd gone through all of his money, and he at one point came to me with a $10 bill, that I guess his grandma must have given him. We travel to the States, we visit family, so sometimes we'll get birthday
Yeah.
money and just nice to see you money. So he comes up to me and goes, I have no more pounds. Can you change this $10 bill into pounds? Like, now I'm in the financial exchange market, now I'm dealing in currency exchange. I'm like, you're missing the point. This is not about, it was frustrating. So I was trying to bring some humor to it, and the jar is still sitting there, and we're all deciding what to do with the money. Should we donate it to a charity that has
Mm.
something to do with lights? Should we buy a bunch of light bulbs and leave them in the house? At one point, I said to them, I'm going to start removing your light bulbs one at a time every time you leave your lights on, or I'm going to take all your light bulbs out and you'll have to earn them back. You know, you get creative, but the point is to get their attention and to get them to care. I will say that while it's not perfect yet, compliance is up, because what that whole exercise did, even though it was entertaining for me and gave me something interesting to write about, it put it on the radar. They're, as they get older, they're starting to understand household responsibility, contributing, looking after your own space. And I'm not asking them to turn other people's lights off. It's just yours. I say to them, you're privileged. You have your own room. You have a room with heat and, a cozy bed. You've got a roof over your head every night. You've got enough clothing. You've got food. You've got so much. And you have to look after your own space. And turning off your light is just one little thing that you have to do. So feel free to have a light jar.
I love that. You really have to get you really have to get creative. Like, how am I going to motivate them to do something that's important to me, that's totally not important to them? They probably think I'm crazy. Like, why does dad care about this much? And sometimes I'll think to myself, why do I
Yes.
care about this much about lights, right?
Because you're
Why is
paying
this
the
suddenly
light
important
bills.
to me?
That's why, because you work hard and you're paying the bills. And when they want me to buy them something, they'll say, "Oh, can I have this T-shirt? It's 15 pounds or whatever." Or, "Come on, it's only 15 pounds." I'll say, "Okay, you give me 15 pounds." "Oh no, I don't want to spend 15 pounds." I'm like, "So why is it okay for me to spend 15 pounds, but not for
Yeah.
you?" It's about getting them to have empathy and understand that they have to care about your space and your stuff as much as they care about their space and their stuff.
And you hit the nail on the head. Their brains, they're just not at a place where they really are wired to care about that stuff yet. And so our job is to help them understand that and learn that and have empathy and start to kind of get prepared for the world and to think about things like that. And so often you don't teach that by yelling, or getting into sort of power struggles with them. You've got to kind of get creative and figure out what works, and what works for one of your children might not work for all of your children, and that's
Oh
that's where it
God,
gets really tricky,
yeah.
because that would just make it easy
Mm.
if the light jar worked the same way for all of your kids.
Right.
But I think Josh and I know which child that would work for and which one it wouldn't work for in our house. um,
Yeah.
but
But that's the thing, like the way we parent today, it's no longer, my generation was just, you had a parent, this is your parent. Now it's a verb. Now we
yes,
parent. So I'm not a trained child psychologist or any kind of psychologist, and yet here I am constantly trying to figure out a way to get through to them while they're just being their normal
yes,
selves. They're being normal kids, normal teenagers. This is all normal development, messy rooms, all the things that we joke about. The reason that Facebook and Instagram are full of them is because it's
hmm,
happening to everyone. It's very relatable. And I think it's just the way we write and joke and the humor we add to it is just as much to get their attention as it is for us to blow
yes.
off some steam. Parenting's hard, and at least let me laugh about it. Let me get some entertainment out of it if it's happening anyway. And I just think that that's kind of where our generation is in terms of parenting. I'll be fascinated to see how these kids parent their kids, like what's coming
Yes.
I
next.
don't even think I could guess.
We have we have to laugh about it, right? Because in the moment, you're not laughing, right? You talked about smelling your kids' hands and making sure they flush the toilet and asking them if they did those things. I regularly will threaten my youngest to go feel his toothbrush
Oh yeah,
to make sure it's wet, to make sure he brushed his teeth, right? I can laugh now, but in the moment, I'm like, I'm getting really angry
this is so
that I'm going to
annoying.
have to go do
It's
this.
a
Yes,
game of chicken. It's when
Yes.
like a 2-year-old covers their face with or they put their hands over their eyes and like, you can't see me, even though obviously we can see you and all of you. It's kind of like the next stage of that, where they're pushing their boundaries. They want to see how far they can get with you. It's a good lesson also in
yes,
knowing when to back down. In arguments, we teach them to advocate for themselves and stand up for themselves. But there are times when you have to say, all right, I'm busted, and apologize and move on, as opposed to just digging your heels in and keeping on. And these are all just, I mean, when I sit back and think about how many lessons we're conveying to them every day, every minute, But with every small thing that happens, all these little things add up to the adult that they'll turn out to be and that you send off into the world.
True. Yeah, it's constant, like it's a million little lessons every day that we're teaching them and that they're teaching us, right? Because parenting, like you said, we're parenting, it's a verb now, but I don't think I'm ever going to get to a place where I feel like, I'm doing a really good job with this. Every day I'm learning something new, and every
Mm,
day my kids are changing. So what used to work for
Mhm.
them doesn't work anymore because now they've learned a new skill. They're someone different now, and so it's this constant sort of evolving cycle that is really exhausting, but also really wonderful.
mm,
And it is, as much as I'm sad to see them move from one developmental stage to another, I'm really finding joy in each new stage that we're at, even if it is a really smelly stage, or a really messy stage.
but smells can be
You
covered.
can
These are all
light some
fixable
candles,
problems.
turn on some essential oil. It's
Ah,
okay.
leave the house, go in my car, smell the car freshener. But yeah, what you said actually is so, as they say here, spot on. It's enjoying
Yeah.
each stage. It's hard. I'm finding it hard to move from stage to stage. I really struggled when I sort of hit that leaving the little kid into big
Yes.
kid stage. Like the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, which is another thing that led me to the writing and to figuring out what it is I'm going to do next instead of waiting until the last one's out of the house and saying,
Mhm.
okay, well, now what? Do I go back to what I did before, which was fashion marketing? I don't want to do that. You kind of have to figure out not only who they are, but
Right.
who you are. How do you identify? So in that, it's critical to enjoy who they are because it's changing constantly. And I think a lot of times they surprise you. They surprise you with the people they become. They surprise you when they take on a lesson that you've worked so
Yes.
hard to teach them. They just kind of come through with, you know, I wrote another article called how to tell how to figure out which kid isn't flushing the toilet. It's like this game of every time I walk past the bathroom, I crane my head around, and for just a minute, I have this moment of hope where maybe there won't be anything in there. Maybe someone will have flushed. Oh, I'm filled with hope and possibility. In fact, when I wrote about it, you know
Yes.
that scene? You ever see
Yes.
Goodwill Hunting? Oh, you must have. Obviously, you're from
Oh yeah,
Boston. I mean, if you
that's a
didn't,
requirement to live
I would
here,
basically
actually.
just shut this whole podcast down right now. So in Goodwill Hunting, there's that scene where Ben Affleck tells Matt Damon, every day
Mhm.
the best 10 seconds of my day are those 10 seconds where I walk up the pathway to your house, and for those
Yeah.
10 seconds, I think maybe he won't be there. Maybe he will have just left without saying a word. And I'm like, these are my best seconds of the day when I'm walking past the bathroom, and there's still that hope that maybe today's that day. And on occasion, when it does happen, I'm filled with probably an inordinate amount of joy because you feel like, yes, we got there. I nailed it. Or, I've seen them recently, and this was also a hard won battle. I've seen them taking empty milk cartons, empty cookie packages, empty potato chip packages, walking them across the kitchen into the garbage can. Exactly.
What?
Gasp. Gasp is right, my friend. Gasp.
Not just into the fridge or left on the counter, but
So
into
after
a
years,
trash receptacle?
correct, correct. I got an article about that on my
Wow.
blog too,
Oh,
where I'm like, look, I'm going to highlight to the whole world, whoever's reading this, what you people do. And I know it's not just you, but you're going to see that this behavior is unacceptable to open the snack cabinet and have it appear to be full when in fact it's just carcasses and tumbleweeds, and it's just the illusion of having food in there. And now, I mean, they kind of make a big deal about it, like, look at me, I'm taking the milk and putting it in the garbage as if, this is something to be celebrated. But it is. And I try to, when they do these little things, I do try to acknowledge it. I acknowledge them, and even if it's in a cute way, like, not that big of a deal, it is that big of a deal because it's not their inclination to do it. And they're doing it because they know it's
yes.
important to me, and they know that I've been working so hard to get them to do it. And they should be commended for that. I'm not making them a parade, but I'll say, wow, I noticed you shut your light. Thanks for doing that. Or I noticed you threw this in the garbage. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And that gets parked in their brain somewhere too. There's that sort of
Mhm.
reward factor. That's got to
Well, yeah,
help.
because it is hard, where it's easy for us as adults to kind of laugh about it and get kind of frustrated, like, oh, it's not that hard to shut off a light. But it is, in their little brains, they're the center of the universe and nothing like,
Yeah.
an electric bill matters. But for them to start making those connections is hard work. And I think it is really important as parents that we acknowledge the good stuff. We acknowledge the gains, we acknowledge the new skills, we acknowledge when they actually take the few extra seconds, because it's only a few seconds, to actually put it in the trash. That is growth, and that should be applauded. and,
It's
and it's
progress.
it's it's going to serve them really well as an adult, those skills. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I saw my 14-year-old who I'm just always, not to sound like, an anal retentive crazy person, but I just have a thing with dirt and smells, and like I'll do a spot check of their nails. Are they long? Is there dirt under there? And it's not like they're,
Right.
3-month-olds where you have to cut their tiny little baby nails. They can go cut them themselves, or I'm going to cut them. So a couple of days ago, I said to my 14-year-old, your nails are getting a bit long. And then, of course, I didn't run to do it then, but sort of couched it in the back of my mind, cut that kid's nails. He came into my room yesterday to say goodbye. He was going out, and I noticed that his nails were cut, and I had to try not to cry. I know, I welled up. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, so I just want to say that I noticed you cut your own nails.
Yes.
you know, Getting
Wow.
all like
All
misty.
by
Yes,
himself.
yes. And the look on his
Huge.
face showed me that he was so pleased that I was so pleased. I was filled with joy. He was filled with joy. It was a win-win situation. And it's those moments where it's all worth it.
I'm so. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like you
I
live
was.
in our house. I mean, the lights, the not flushing, the
Well,
The
fingernails. Like, do you
smells.
actually live here with us?
I feel now's the time to tell you I do live in your house. And so I've been contributing to your electric bills too.
That
But
explains
when
it.
when I post well, I post these. I'm not a big Facebook person. I don't really understand it. But the one thing I use it for is when I do a new blog post, I put it up on Facebook, and I get so many comments from people I know, people I don't know. Oh my God, same in our house. Do you live in our house? That's just like that in our house. That's why it's funny, because it's relatable. All I'm saying is what's happening everywhere. I'm just sort of putting a voice to it. I'm making a joke about it, and it's relatable, and that's what makes people feel anything. It makes people feel good. Anything you see on social media that you can relate to, that's the connection. That's where you feel like I'm not crazy, I'm not alone, there are other people like me, there are other people like my kids, and it's comforting. There's safety in
There is.
numbers.
I'm so glad that we've had this conversation today because I needed the reminder. Um, this has been, it's obviously summer, so theoretically schedules are a little lighter, but in our house, it feels like summer schedules are even heavier and more chaotic. And so I have been just sort of on the hamster wheel. And I don't think that no, I know I have not been acknowledging my kids' gains and growth and efforts this summer. I've very much been able to focus on when the lights are left on and when the toilets are not flushed and when those cereal boxes are empty and on
Mhm.
the
Mm.
counter, or the cereal bowl is left out in like a living room or something. I've noticed all
With
that.
congealing milk in it.
Oh, it's gross. But I haven't
Mm.
noticed all of
Delish.
the other things that are the good things. And there's more good than frustrating. And so I'm really
Yeah.
glad that we had this conversation today because it really made me pause and sort of reconsider things and sort of I guess I needed that reminder. So thank you for that reminder today.
You're welcome for that. And it took me a long time to get here. I wasn't always this mom.
Yeah.
I was quite focused on the negative, and I was always yelling and yelling and yelling. And then I realized I don't want to be
Yes.
remembered as the mom who yelled. I'm not the mom who
Yes.
yelled too
Yes.
much. I'm the mom who knew too much. That's a different person. But it's not like it happened overnight. It was a process, and I kind of arrived there. And I like when I talk about it, when anybody, a friend, somebody I just met, you guys say, actually, that makes sense, because it validates my decision to try to be a bit more like that. Sure, I still lose my cool. Sure, I still yell at them, but I'm really trying to pick out the
Yep.
good stuff.
Yep.
It's changing perspectives, like you say. Let me change my perspective on this childhood thing, because they're not going to be kids forever. They're going to grow up. My baby is now 18. He's leaving, and
Yeah.
we're done raising him. So what am I going to do with the remaining raising years for the other ones? I better make them count.
Right. Right. And make them, more focused on the
Yeah.
positive than the negative. So I needed that perspective shift today. So thank you for that. And I feel like any of our listeners would love your Instagram and your blog. So if
Aw.
you don't already, truly, because I think that's what you're doing, really the same thing. You're changing perspectives, but you're really doing it in a humorous, real, authentic, accessible way. And so it's the mom who knew too much, right? But it's the
Mhm.
period in between each word.
Yeah, so it's the period, mom period, who period, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And the blog is www.themomwhoknewtoomuch with hyphens in between.
Okay. We will put the links in the show notes as well.
Super.
And we'd love to have you come
Please.
back again. There's so much to talk about with parenting. So at some
Yes,
point in the future, we'll pick another parenting topic and have you come back on
I would love
for
to.
another
That's
little
my
chat.
favorite thing to
Oh,
talk about.
good.
I would love to. I really, really enjoy talking to you guys. And, maybe you're in my house. I may be in your house, but you're here
Ah,
too.
yes.
We're both living international lives.
Listen, I just have to shout out that specific article on the toilet. It's the process of elimination. I actually
Oh,
just read
I
it
love that.
today,
good
and I
title,
was,
right? You
That's
like my title?
it's
amazing.
a great title. And
I'm
I
a word
was,
person.
I just knew I was going to like you because I saw the Goodwill Hunting reference, and I'm like, okay, this is going to work just fine.
It's fate. I tend to throw movie references in. I think in metaphors and I think in movies, and I just think
I
there's
speak in
Josh
movie, by
does
the way.
speak in movies
oh
all the time.
oh
Hmm.
oh
Yeah,
dude, we're
you
besties for
really
life
are.
now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna have to come to Boston.
absolutely.
I
Oh,
actually
that'd be
love it.
great.
I love it
Yes.
there. My nephew's in Harvard. Actually, I
You
should come and
should.
visit him.
Yeah, when you're
Oh,
ever
nice.
Maybe
across
this
the
year.
pond, we'll meet up and you and Josh can talk in movie references all day, and I will have no
Hmm.
clue what you're talking about because
And you can sit there
yes,
with your eyes
because I
glazing over.
forget
It'll be
all the movie
fun.
stuff. But I did, Josh. I want you to know, I did remember that Goodwill Hunting quote. I would not have remembered it on my own, but I do. I can picture it. So I want you to be proud of me,
Yes.
Josh.
Can you? Is the microphone picking up the clapping, the applause? I'm
Yes.
Yes, it
applauding
is.
you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you very
That's
much.
one of
This
the one. I mean, obviously, there's tons of good movies, but that's a quotable one.
that
It
is a
There's
really
good
quotable
life
one.
is.
lessons in there.
I have to watch that one again.
Do that, and the soundtrack
All
is
right,
phenomenal.
I will. Well, Gila, thank you so much. It
This
was
is
really a
awesome.
pleasure talking with you.
Thank you guys.
All right.
And
I guess
shout out
I say
your,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, shout out your website one more time, Gil.
Okay, so it is www.themomwhoknewtoomuch with hyphens in between all of the words .com.
Perfect.
Great. All right, Gila, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your
Yeah,
summer, and we will
my
have you
my
back
day's
here
winding
again
down.
soon. Yes.
I would love that. I really would love that. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity, and you're a lot of fun to talk to. And I think you're a great team, if I may say so.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate
It's not
that.
inspiring me to try to do a podcast with my husband, but you guys, you do keep doing what you're doing. And
So
Thank
listen,
you, Gila.
before we
yeah,
sign off, I thank you for saying that. The other day, we were recording, and one of the things Jenny said at the beginning of the episode, it was 2 episodes ago. She goes, "Sometimes we just record for ourselves," and I was like, you know what?
mm,
That's very true. That really rang true for me. So Jenny, thank you
Oh,
for that
oh,
the other
you're
day.
welcome. I don't remember saying that, so apparently I also
You
quote. I
did.
forget
It's
my own
recorded.
quotes, not just movie quotes.
it means he's listening to you. You guys,
Oh,
it's so
he is
beautiful.
listening. Oh, we're so cute. Thank you, Gila. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
All right, Kayla. All right, we are back. How great was it to talk to Gila, Jenny?
Wonderful.
So awesome.
I want to fly to London and have tea
Yes.
in general, but also sit with
With
Gila.
Gila, yeah.
I love tea. I love afternoon tea.
But
I
we're,
am a cat who should be living in London
yes, laying by a window, right?
and going to afternoon tea.
Yes, going to afternoon tea.
Yeah.
She's so fun to talk to. So funny. We, as I said before in the beginning of the episode, just the tip of the iceberg. We would love to have Gila back on multiple times. And
Did
we're
you
going
say
to
iceberg?
I don't know. Maybe
Mm.
it's been a long weekend.
Okay.
You know, we're gonna hold her to that when she comes out here to Boston to hang out with her. Was it her nephew that goes to Harvard? I think. have her come and we'll meet up for drinks or whatever and talk movie quotes and parenting. So that was really, really a lot of fun. Do you have anything else to add, Jenny?
I don't, except you should definitely follow her on all of the social media platforms, her blog,
Facebook.
and Instagram, and be on the lookout for her book, because
Yeah.
that is going to be fantastic when that comes out.
Who's going to be first? You think you or her on the book?
Well, my goal was to have my book out by my birthday, which was now a month ago, so I'm rocking with my goal.
Yeah.
I've adjusted my goal. So if I do go away with you on your business trip in early fall, my goal is to wrap it up that week.
Oh, great.
While you're in your meetings.
Okay. That's a good goal.
Yeah, I might be able to get
Good
it done.
setting for that too.
Yeah, I like that. When you go away for business and it works out, airfare's good, it works out with my work schedule, I get a lot of work done. It's kind of it's like a retreat for me.
My
And
little sabbatical.
I get to like go to the gym and sit in the pool.
You
And
get to hang out with me.
Right. And then at night, when you're on the nights that you don't have something, we can go explore a different city. So
We're going to see a
That's
ball
fun.
game, hopefully.
that's okay.
You like baseball.
I see a lot of I just saw a lot of baseball.
That's true. You might be in baseball withdrawal by that time, though. Maybe.
It's
Maybe
a
not.
possibility because the football season will have just started. So I will have gone like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe even, without a sports game for our kids.
Yeah.
So weird. So I might be in need of a sporting event.
Well, the price is right. The tickets will be cheap, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But so anyways, my goal would be to sort of wrap it up then and hopefully have it out. So conservatively, end of 2019 is my official goal.
Awesome.
I would like it to be sooner. It's really almost done.
Well,
I just need to sort of give it some attention and fine tuning.
Based on
And
that
the cover
timeline.
design is holding me up.
Yeah.
I don't like
you and I were working on that.
I don't like any of it.
Yeah. It'll come. Based on that timeline, sounds like you're going to beat Gila to the punch. So
We'll see. Well,
We'll see
hers
what
is going to
happens.
be much better.
well, we'll see.
So buy my book.
Different.
There's my sales
Different.
pitch.
Yeah. Please. It's going to be not
It's
as good
gonna
as Gila Pfeffer's. That's the advertisement. I think you need to get a new ad company.
My book.
Yeah.
It's almost okay.
It's almost okay. All right. I think that is going to do it for today, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can learn more on Gila by checking out themomwhoknewtoomuch.com, The Mom Who Knew Too Much on Instagram, The Mom Who Knew Too Much on Facebook. Her Instagram posts and pictures are just so hilarious. And by the way, that was Blake Griffin, the NBA player that she was, you and Jenny, or you and Gila couldn't recall, but that was Blake
I
Griffin.
totally knew it was Blake Griffin and didn't say anything.
All right, everybody. Please follow us on Facebook at Changing Perspectives Podcast and on Instagram at Changing Perspectives Blog. You can check out our website by going to changingperspectivesblog.com or send us an email to changingpodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Say bye, Jenny.
Bye, Jenny.
The Changing Perspectives podcast is produced, recorded, and edited by Dizzy-Bird Studios, Whitman, Massachusetts. Visit Dizzy-Bird Studios on Facebook, facebook.com/Dizzy-Bird Studios.
What's up, everybody? My name's Tim from the Shut Up and Dad podcast, and I hope you're enjoying this show. If you're looking for some laughs after you finish listening to this episode, come check out Shut Up and Dad. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and your favorite podcast platform by searching Shut Up and Dad, or simply head to our website, shutupanddad-podcast.com, where you can listen to episodes, read our blog, and find links to our show. That's shutupanddad-podcast.com.